In Deuteronomy chapter 6, verse 4, we find what is referred to in Judaism as the Shema. It says, "Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God, the Lord is one. You shall love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your might." So what it's saying here is that we are to love the Lord with all that we are, with all of your heart. He's talking about with all of your emotions. He says, love the Lord your God with all your soul. He's talking about kind of that inner man, your intellect. Love the Lord with all your might, with all of your physical attributes, with your strength. And what he's saying is that all that we are as a person needs to be dedicated to the service of the Lord. Remember in Matthew chapter 22, Jesus is having a discussion with some of the Pharisees, with some of the religious rulers. And one of them in verse 36 says, "Jesus, why don't you tell us what the greatest commandment is?" And Jesus replies in verse 37, "You shall love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your mind. This is the great and first commandment. And the second is like it. You shall love your neighbor as yourself. On these two commandments depend all the law and the prophets." So Jesus here, he kind of paraphrases that Shema that we saw in Deuteronomy chapter 6, verse 4. He says, "You shall love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your mind. This is the great and first commandment." And then remember, he says, look, if you can do that, and if you can love your neighbor as much as you love you, he says you're going to be in good shape. You're going to be good to go. He says the whole of the law can be kept by doing just those two things. Right? And if you love the Lord with all that you are, you're naturally going to be keeping the 10 Commandments, right? You're going to automatically, if you're loving the Lord with everything you are, you're not going to be committing idolatry. You're not going to be taking the Lord's name in vain. You're going to be honoring the Sabbath. You're going to be doing all of these things. If you truly are loving your neighbor as much as yourself, just by nature, you're not going to be lying or committing adultery or murder or stealing. You're naturally going to be honoring your parents. And so I love this idea, right? That if we love God and love people, I mean, that's kind of all it is. It's not this big list of rules and regulations. Jesus says simply, love God and love people. And if you can do that, everything else is going to fall into place in your life. So I just encourage you to meditate on that. Meditate on the Shema and Matthew chapter 22, verses 37 through 40, where Jesus says that. Love God, love people, and the details will take care of themselves.